Hey, what's up? Dave with Brazos Valley Strength. And a couple of weeks ago, I made a video on what I think are the best variations for soft touch bench press. So today, I want to do the other side of that video. We're going to be talking about what I think are the best variations for people who sink the bar on their bench press. But I did want to start off and basically say that there is going to be a little bit of overlap here, that I do use some of those variations in that soft touch video for people who sink the bar and vice versa. And I wanted to just elaborate on that just a little bit to make sure that even clients of mine who may see that they're getting some variations that are not meant for one or the other, that there are reasons for that. And that if you're somebody who's programming for yourself or you're a coach watching this video or something, that it's not right or wrong, that there's definitely still utility in those things. And actually one of the variations that I'm going to have as a top choice in this video was also a top choice in the other one. But I think maybe a good example of one that I think is significantly lower on my list for people who do a sinking touch is the Spoto press. So the Spoto press is top tier in my mind on this soft touch bench press, but for a sinking touch, it's essentially the opposite. And I don't think that it brings out a lot of the qualities that we really need and that we'll talk about in this video for the sinking touch. But I still use it sometimes. I'd say maybe 10% of my clients who sink the bar get the Spoto press. And so I think that there's a lot of utility in bringing some of those exercises that emphasize quality for control and all of that. But there may still be reasons to use these sinking touch variations for soft touch bench pressers as well. So even though I may score something significantly higher because it brings out some of the things that I really need to work on, there's still a lot of individuality within all of this. So my first variation though is going to be the 3-count bench press. I would say this one is top tier, probably my number one by far for people who do a sinking touch. And I think from a lot of these videos, it'll be pretty obvious why. That with the 3-count bench, it can be very, very easy, very natural to allow ourselves to get that bar to sink into our chest as much as we want it to. And this is probably the only variation that I'm using right now with my bench press and probably the only one that I've used for a while. But this one brings out all of the stuff that we really need and we really want to feel when we're sinking the bar. And I think one of the main issues with a sinking touch can just be the timing of that press. That if we're trying to move too quickly, we don't always get that bar as deep into our chest as we really want it to. But a 3-count can really help us feel that explosiveness and that ability that we get to actually get some rebound and some confidence and some leg drive and all of that. But it allows ourselves to commit to actually getting that bar down into our body. And I think for people who do a sinking touch, a lot of us would probably say that they don't feel much weaker, if at all, when they do a 3-count bench press. And I know for me, sometimes I feel like I actually bench press better with a long pause. So I think that this is one of the best variations to really get us to commit to the things that we want to feel. Lots of times it's a little bit faster of a descent. I don't think that that's all that universal for sinking bench pressers, but I do think that it can be something that really helps to commit to getting that bar down relatively quickly and then still get it into our chest as deep as we want it and control that bar down there, but especially getting a good bit of pop off of our bodies. So if you're somebody who does a sinking touch bench press, the 3-count absolutely has to be in your program. I think it really helps with that feeling of power from the bottom, getting that timing, and just fine-tuning how far you want that bar in your body in the first place. My second variation here is going to be the close grip bench press. And I really think that this one is mostly in here and mostly well suited for the sinking touch bench press because of the feelings that we get from that close grip overall. And I think most people have probably experienced these feelings with things like closer stance squats or conventional deadlifts or high bar squats. Anytime that we lean towards exercises that kind of have a little bit more speed to them, like if you were going to jump, you would move your feet closer together. We get a lot of power from those positions. But I think for most people, that closer stance is not going to be their strongest one. We tend to lack a little bit of stability, and things like that tend to move in the wrong direction for just maximal output of strength. But the speed stuff can really be there. And I think what the close grip can really do for us is that it allows a lower touch point, which I have videos on as well, but allows a lower touch point where we have a good bit of meat on our body. So with that position, I can sink the bar a little bit more. And because I have all of that mass of my body, I almost always will get a really good pop off my body. And so it really helps people feel that sensation of power off their chest and really trying to get their legs involved and move the bar very, very quickly. So I think that this can be a really, really good tool for people who sink the bar. And I don't really think it's just like tricep strength. I think it's more of that feeling of aggressiveness and kind of the same things as the 3-count bench, to where I get the bar into my chest fairly deeply, and then I really do my best to, with my whole body, power it off my chest and find that good timing there. Now, my last one is going to be the one that overlaps with the soft touch bench press, and that's the feet up bench press, or the Larson's press. I call it feet up bench press. The feet up bench press, I think, is one of the best variations for bench press all around. I do have a video on the feet up bench press where I kind of do it a little bit differently, so I'll link that up there. But with the feet up bench press, a lot of the stuff that I said about the soft touch bench press is really the same thing here, is that when we take away leg drive, when we take away some of that arch, it forces us to fight more with our upper bodies to be in control of our posture and keep that arch with our upper body and just fight against the barbell. So if I'm doing the feet up bench press for a soft touch bench, then I have to manage my upper body and work really hard up there. And it's not totally from my legs, but I learn to work really hard against the barbell. That same stuff is true when I do the sinking press. That one of the bad habits that people can get into with the sinking press is that they let the bar get too deep and they relax. There's not really an answer as far as what is too deep, but if your butt is really coming off the bench and if you're feeling really sloppy and things are really inconsistent, that's probably not very good. So if we remove the feet, it makes it to where people have to manage a lot of that effort with their upper body. And we still for sure want to sink it. We want to sink it in the same way that you would with your competition bench press. But now because my legs aren't there, I can't get away with some of those potentially bad habits. And I can work harder with my upper body while still sinking the bar pretty effectively into my chest and still trying to get a lot of that pop. So I think it helps balance out that aggressiveness and take away some of the sloppiness that can come with the sinking press. And I think for a lot of people, and in particular newer lifters who don't have a ton of experience with the sink and maybe trying to do maybe a bit too much with it, the feet up bench press while exercising the sink with it can be a very, very good tool to make sure that we're using a lot of the qualities that we want to make the sinking bench press feel really, really good, but still maintaining a good bit of control throughout the bench press overall. So as far as programming choices, I've made a couple of videos on the fact that I think that most variations tend to be better served for heavier reps, that if we're trying to get the most out of a variation in the first place, the reps do need to be challenging enough to actually emphasize effort and have those qualities. If I were to do a set of 8 with 3-count bench press, it probably doesn't feel close to the same as what it does for a single or a set of 3 or 2 or whatever. That I do think that almost all of these are better suited for lower rep work. But I think that the last two, the close grip and the feet up bench press, tend to be utilized a little bit more often for higher reps. And I think that that's fine. I think that a lot of times, both of those variations tend to be a little bit more manageable, tend to be a little bit more tolerable for people for higher rep ranges. And I do still think that that can work really well within the powerlifting context. I don't think the 3-count bench press is that way. So if you are looking for some of those higher-ish rep ranges in your bench press programming, I think that close grip and I think that feet up are probably the ones that you want with that. But I do still think that both are very, very effective for lower rep ranges, including singles with that. But I did want to bring up one of my favorite variations, and that's the 1-1 or the 1-2 bench press. I've also seen some other coaches calling these like contrast reps, I guess. But anyway, what that means is that we're doing the first rep of a set with a variation. I think in my other video, I talked about tempo being a good use of that, where I fight really, really hard on the first rep and kind of get that feeling of effort, and then I don't tempo the rest of them. The 3-count bench press is an absolutely perfect variation for this style. So if you're doing a sinking touch, it can be very, very useful to do a 1-1, 1-2, whatever, the first rep of your set, do that 3-count pause and sink it into your chest and get yourself to commit. And I for sure find that subsequent reps feel a whole lot better and oftentimes potentially stronger because I get that timing, I get that pattern to get the bar all the way into my chest, as well as just getting used to some of those longer pauses. And I think historically from people I coach, this has been a favorite for many, many people. And for a lot of people, it just doesn't ever leave their training. That a lot of their triples, doubles just include a 3-count pause in the first rep, just all the time. So I think that that's a really, really good way to utilize that variation. But in general, you can't go wrong with just generally heavy training with these and maybe some higher reps in the close grip, and in particular, the feet up bench press. So I think that's all I have to say as far as the variations here. If you do have questions, if you do have a favorite, I'd love to talk about it in the comments. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Otherwise, if you did like the video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time.